President Trump announced that a suspect is in custody in the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. If you are just joining us, I'm Errol Barnett at the CBS Broadcast Center here in New York City, where we are digesting this news from President Trump as he announced this in the past hour on a conservative news channel here in New York City. The president was here, attended a baseball game, and in this morning's conversation, he felt the need to share information that was provided to him moments before he stepped into the studio and on set with the co-hosts of Fox and Friends. President Trump saying he thinks with a high degree of certainty we have him in custody. President Trump mentioning that someone close to the suspect turned him in. He wouldn't answer a question posed to him from those co-hosts about ideology of the suspect, but President Trump did provide some additional details that a person of faith, a minister, went to a U.S. Marshal and convinced that the suspect, through his own father, to turn himself in to police. President Trump says they drove to police headquarters and he is there now. It's 9 a.m. here on the East Coast in New York City. I'm Errol Barnett. There is a press conference out of Utah being brought to us by the FBI with new information on a potential suspect in custody in the shooting death of Charlie Kirk. Our new information is that press conference is scheduled to begin in approximately 30 minutes. You're looking at a live feed coming to us from there now as they check audio. We want to play with you sound from President Trump last hour as he broke this news.
I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But, yeah, I think we're in great shape.
Mr. President.
He's in custody.
Doug Kouns is a former special agent for the FBI and founder and CEO of Veracity IIR. Doug, thanks for being with us. This news just breaking from President Trump in the past hour. How do you interpret some of the details the president is providing and what it means to the investigation overall?
It's great news. I would disagree with his comment about the luck aspect. This was a lot of hard work by a lot of people using the best technology and tools available, and I am not surprised that he was caught. There's too many cameras out there. There are too many skilled investigators, talented investigators using these tools that they have available. Some things that people aren't necessarily even aware of, but cell phone tracking and that kind of thing. So it's just hats off to these guys that were crying in for hours on this. I'm sure watching hours and hours of videotape, hundreds of interviews of potential witnesses, and what looks like a successful conclusion. You got to remember, this is still a suspect.
That's right. And Doug, help us fill in some of the blanks as we wait to hear the official word from the FBI, because as you've just mentioned, they had more than 7,000 tips, more than 200 interviews with people who felt they could provide something. They also put up this cash reward. There was a phone number, a website for people to reach out to if they had information. And of course, yesterday we saw images, grainy images, but images nonetheless, and video of the suspect. In the end, it appears, according to President Trump, that someone close to the suspect actually turned him in. So which likely was the strongest lead for investigators in getting to this point today? Take us behind the scenes and how that would have worked.
That's hard to say. You know, you always get so many tips. It's a double-edged sword that, people mean well and they call it in, but it's 99% noise. You still have to check it out, and it takes your resources, but you never know when you're going to get that one good tip that comes in that leads you to the suspect. So it'll be interesting to see, what it was that actually did lead them to him. I would say it's a combination of a lot of the things. Certainly somebody close to this person may not have known that they had done it until they saw these videos that were released by the media and say, hey, that looks like so-and-so. So that'll be interesting just to see exactly what it was. There's probably, I think I read there were footprints that were lifted. I don't know about fingerprints, but I think there was a palm print. All these things will come into the prosecution then, because they still have to prove that he is the right person.
And in that pursuit of proving that he's the right person, there will likely possibly be digital evidence, communication, any emails, any text messages the suspect would have sent. I'm curious about the biggest questions you have at this stage, because what was notable to me was that this was an open-air, outdoor, highly publicized event on a college campus with thousands of people present, and yet this suspect seemed to have been able to fire a shot, cross over a rooftop, and run away while other people were detained. What was lost in those early hours, and what are some of the other unanswered questions you have?
Well, certainly in hindsight, there was a deficiency in the security at this event. Charlie Kirk is a controversial figure, well known, but he's not actually a politician. He's not in office. He just supports, the conservative movement and has for years, especially amongst young people. When the shots start firing, there's always this confusion. People start scrambling, and perhaps somebody gave a tip to law enforcement that they saw someone running from a certain area, and they grabbed that person, and it looked like a strong suspect at first. But once you actually do the investigation, you realize, hey, this isn't right. We need to keep looking. When you're in these outdoor events, we spoke about this the other day. They're just very difficult to lock down. The access control is almost non-existent. I don't believe they had any kind of metal detectors or screening. I think that I did read there were tickets sold, but they weren't checked at any kind of a gate. So it's really just kind of a free-for-all for whoever wants to come, if the reporting is accurate. It's just a security nightmare, and it's not like he's an actual politician that's afforded a government security detail. That I understand he does have his own security detail, but I don't know how many people or how robust it is. Do they do any kind of advanced work where they're coming out and making sure that rooftops are secure like a presidential detail would? I just don't know the answers to those things. But certainly moving forward, all you can do is learn from the mistakes that were made, put them into in your best practices, and do better the next time. And hopefully this doesn't happen again. But as we've seen with Trump last summer at the event in Iowa, even with a professional detail, they can still find the gaps, and it's never foolproof.
Doug Kouns, we appreciate your insight on this breaking news this morning that President Trump says the suspect in the shooting death of Charlie Kirk is in custody. You're looking at live pictures coming to us from Orem, Utah, where a press conference by the FBI is scheduled to begin in approximately 20 minutes. But again, this is a fluid situation. That time could move forward or backwards. CBS News correspondent Carter Evans, I believe, has made his way there to where this press conference will begin. Carter, what updates do you have for us?
Well, we're waiting to get more details about this arrest and exactly how it went down. And as you said, we're hoping for this news conference to start in about 20 minutes right now. But they did let us know that it could be delayed further. They got a lot of things to pull together here. What we do know is what the president said on Fox News this morning, that it appears that a minister or a pastor convinced the father of this individual to turn himself in, and they went to a U.S. Marshal's office. The president also said he was 28 or 29 years old. When you look at the picture, that seems to be about right. Initially, they had said this individual looked to be college age, but the president's saying 28 or 29. The president did issue a word of caution because he had just heard this about 5 minutes before he went on air. But we are getting details now that basically suggest that this person is in custody right now, and the president is calling for a swift trial and that this person face the death penalty. Now, last night, authorities here released a new video. We've been looking at it all morning. It shows an individual on the rooftop. This is after the shooting. He runs across the rooftop, jumps down into the grass, and that's where authorities say they found a handprint and they found a foot impression. And then not far from there, they found what they say is the murder weapon, a rifle, 30-06 rifle, in a wooded area. And I asked them when they found that rifle if they were able to get any DNA or fingerprints off of that to possibly identify the shooter, and they said that that was something that they were working on. So we don't know exactly how they identified this individual or if they knew his name before it sounds like he turned himself in, but we're hoping to learn a lot more when this news conference gets underway.